This is for 9. You sure you realize that? Yep. Hey, if you can see Julie, of course. I know, right? Hey, if you consume, yep. Cause you have no idea. I know, right? If you consume Julie, of course. I know, right? If you consume, yep. Because I said so. I know, right? If you consume Julie, of course. I know, right? Yep. Cause you have no idea. I know, right? If you consume Julie, of course. You have no idea, right? Of course. Cause you have no idea. I know, right? If you consume Julie, I know. If you consume, yep. Of course, you have no idea. I know, right? Of course. For some reasons, right? I don't know, cause you have no idea. I know, right? If you simply, until you know this. Right. Did I spoon stop before? No, not yet. Cause I didn't know this, definitely. Of course. I know, right? If you can simply, I know. If you consume, yep, cause you have no idea. I know, right? If you consume, yep, cause you have no idea. I know, right? If you consume Julie, yep, cause you said so. Right, yeah. Did I realize that? Yep, cause you have no idea. I know, definitely. So, if you consume, yep, cause you said so, Julie. Of course. I know, right? If you consume, yep, okay. Until you know this, right? Of course. I know. If you consume Joey, until you know this. Right, yeah. Did I realize that the flu? Well, it might be. But I don't know, Vigily. Of course. I know, right? If you consume, Julie. I know. If you consume, yep. Because you didn't know this. I know, why? If you consume Julie, yep. Cause you didn't know this, definitely. Of course. I know, why? If you consume Julie, until we know this, right? Of course. I know. If you consume, yep. Okay. Until you know this, right? Of course. I know. If you consume, yep. Okay. You didn't notice. I know, right? If you consume, Julie. Of course. You have no idea, right? I know, eventually. Did I realize that? Yep, cause he said so. Yeah, you didn't know this? Nope. Okay.